and Doncic. The Celtics got a combined 45 points from Derek White, Al Horford, Drew Holiday, Xavier Tillman, and Sam Hauser. Game 4 is Friday night in Dallas. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is the fastest growing talk radio station in Southern California. Home to 50,000 watts and an audience reach of 12 million listeners. KBLA Talk 1580 is a pioneer for black audio content, including our groundbreaking $2 million climate justice campaign and the most loyal, influential audience. According to an independent research study by the polling firm Aviterus, for the second consecutive year, KBLA Talk 1580 is the most trustworthy, reliable, and credible news source for black audiences and beyond in Southern California. Let KBLA Talk 1580 power your advertising dollars. Our omni-channel custom marketing solutions are specifically tailored to connect with your ideal target audience. We leverage audio, podcasts, streaming, digital, social media, and local activations to get your message out to the black community. Get in touch with our advertising team today at advertising@kbla1580.com. That's advertising at kbla1580.com. KBLA 1580. We've got your black.
Live from historic Leimert Park in Los Angeles, California, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavisSmileyShow.com. That's thetavisSmileyShow.com or wherever you get your podcast and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today. In our second hour, two conversations. Up first,
I can never sit calm when the stress comes. We go to war throwing F-bombs, but after the bombs fire, I post bond and bond tighter. We make love next to bomb.
Grammy award-winning songwriter and rapper Che Rhymefest Smith joins us to talk about his campaign, wait for it, his campaign for school board in Chicago. Plus, he has a new album project called James and Nikki, A Conversation. We will have a conversation with Rhymefest at the top of hour two. On the B side of hour two, we'll speak with Jessica Guadalupe Tovar as part of our continuing series on climate care as we prepare for Tuesday night, June the 18th, when we go live on C-SPAN for a historic conversation featuring a stage full of nothing but black folk talking about climate and the beloved community. So a busy second hour today. In our third hour,
the shadow of my hand, a terrifying sight, dancing in the sun, shining on my carpet. The little bending twists of horrible contortions writhing in my fingers. They try to escape the cursed lines of my palm.
What a voice, what a voice. Grammy-winning singer and multi-instrumentalist Judith Hill joins us live in studio to talk about her new album, Letters from a Black Widow. You all know Judith Hill, and Judith is one of the only persons I know who has been in the inner circle of both Michael Jackson and Prince. She performed with both of them. I've teased Judith about that for years, and so today, with her new album, Letters from a Black Widow, Judith Hill joins us live in studio to discuss that project, and of course, I'll ask you questions about Michael and Prince, so it should be a great conversation with Judith Hill today in our third and final hour. But in this first hour today, a tribute to the incredible life, the work, and witness of a civil and human rights icon, the Reverend James M. Lawson, Jr., a contemporary of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Reverend Lawson passed away earlier this week at the age of 95. You recall on Monday, I was broadcasting live from Washington. We broke that sad news on this very program on Monday of this week. And since that time, I've been just thrilled, frankly. You don't want to lose people you love, but I've been just thrilled at all the coverage focused on the life and legacy of one James M. Lawson Jr. Too often, people die in obscurity and they don't get the respect they deserve. I said on Monday that I'm disappointed in a number of presidents who in fact missed the opportunity to honor Reverend Lawson with the Presidential Medal of Freedom. I was at the White House Monday night watching Joe Biden and thought about that then, that he did not ever receive in his lifetime the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and he didn't do what he did for honors and accolades, but he certainly was deserving of that. When you look at the list of others who received it, and I ain't hating on nobody, but there was an opportunity for that to have happened a number of times, and it did not. Hopefully, it will happen posthumously, but he certainly has earned and deserves the highest honor this nation can give. But he passed away on Monday at the age of 95. I am pleased to be joined in this hour by two towering intellectuals, persons who knew him well. The legendary scholar, Dr. Cornel West, is our guest in this hour, occasionally taught and lectured with Reverend Lawson. I'm also pleased to be joined by prominent L.A. political leader, Dr. Mark Ridley Thomas. I'm the only non-doctor in this conversation this hour. I got a few honoraries, but they earned theirs. Dr. Mark Ridley Thomas is here. He was as close to Reverend Lawson as anybody I know, and frankly, I don't know that MRT, as we call him here in L.A., had a greater advocate than the Reverend James M. Lawson, Jr. Before we commence our tribute, which we'll do when we come forward, first, Reverend James Lawson in his own words.
My generation of work, including people like Martin King and Matthew McCullough and John Lewis and Diane Nash and Dorothy Cotton, my generation did not see our work as one generational work. We recognized slavery, 1619, 200, 300 years of it, racism, another 100 years codified into law and structures and all the rest of it. So we did not see ourselves completing our work. We knew it was intergenerational. So we knew that we had to help prepare the next generation for continuing the work of dismantling. Martin King himself said it on many occasions. We're engaged in a work that will go on after we die. We don't see the finishing of our work.
What do you say to us then about the importance of taking the long view? And I ask that because, as you well know, we live in a microwave society. Everybody wants everything right now, but your point is that you have to take the long view. Yeah.
Well, there's no 10 ways about that. That's one of the reasons I still sort of, I have a curiosity and attraction to astronomy. Because in my lifetime, the astronomers and the cosmologists have come to recognize that the universe is beyond our imagination in size and in all the perspectives of life, And so things have not been built in a day, and the dismantling process of 300 years of slavery and Western expansion and conquest and domination, especially the Western expansion in the 16th century that said that you Africans are all doomed. You have to accept Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior, and then you'll be helped. Said the same thing to the Native Americans.
That's right.
And the Latin, South America. Yeah, said it all over the world. You see. So that domination theology and politics has been a great handicap, but it's not going to. It cannot be dismantled in a single generation. And our slave ancestors, knew they couldn't demolish it in one generation. They prepared for the long haul.
Interrogating and unpacking. That's what we do around here. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Indeed you are. We're glad about it. Not feeding yourself lately? Have your weight loss dreams turned into weight gain nightmares? Have you been chasing those same 20 pounds for 20 years now? Well, if so, it's time for D-Herbs. D-Herbs Full Body Cleanse is a natural cleansing regimen that can help you lose 20 pounds in just 20 days. The Full Body Cleanse will also boost your immune system and improve your digestion. With summer, not just right around the corner, it's here now, right? You can stop chasing that 20-pound weight loss and propel yourself into a healthier lifestyle. So reboot your system and lose weight starting today by going to dherbs.com and order your Full Body Cleanse, or call 866-434-3727. If you mention Tavis, they'll give you a discount at checkout. dherbs.com. Experience healing.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
Family Talk with Straight Talk.
You give and you give. It's time to get with Straight Talk Wireless. You get a reliable 5G network and unlimited data, and you get to choose who joins your family plan starting as low as $25 a line.
Does it have to be family?
It can be family or people you like.
Get more lines and more savings. Switch to Straight Talk for family plan starting as low as $25 a line per month for 4 lines. Find us at Walmart and straighttalk.com. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com. Family plan discount with 4 lines, all on the Silver Unlimited plan. Taxes and fees apply.
My friends swim no matter the season, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. Now, thanks to Skyrizi and clear skin, count me in. With Skyrizi Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Ready to re-examine your assumptions and expand your inventory of ideas? More of Tavis Smiley coming your way right now.
I'm Tavis Smiley. That's the Winans featuring Anita Baker. This is June, Black Music Month, and every day this month we choose a different artist and we play the best of their music all 3 hours of our program, celebrating their artistic genius as we weave in and out of these conversations with these amazing guests, as we'll do in a moment with Cornel West and Mark Rudy Thomas. But today it's the Winans, and I mean all of them. It's a big family, so there's the Winans. There's BB and CC. There's Daniel. There's Angie and Debbie. So we'll weave in some of the best of the Winans family as we navigate our way through this 3-hour program today. Let's get it started right about now. I am pleased to welcome back to this program towering public intellectual, brilliant scholar, and independent candidate for president at this moment, our dear friend and brother, Dr. Cornel West. Doc, how are you today, sir?
Well, brother, it's always a blessing to be in dialogue with you and Brother Mark. You are two brothers I love forever and a day.
We feel the same way.
I'm telling you, ain't no doubt. But at the same time, it's a sad day. At 95 years, our dear brother James Morris Lawson Jr., son of Philane May and James Morris Lawson Sr., mother from Jamaica and father from Canada, but had to go to Canada. Really was still a USA, but forced to go to Canada because of the Underground Railroad to get away from the barbarism of U.S. slavery. And they produced a moral giant, a spiritual genius, a love warrior of the highest level. That's what Brother Lawson was. That's what he was. And as you know, Brother Mark was really in so many ways one of the major exemplars of his legacy, brother.
Indeed he was and is. I'm pleased to welcome Dr. Mark Willie Thomas to these studios as well. Doc, how are you today?
Doing the best I can under circumstances that cause me to be saddened by the death of J.M. Lawson Jr. I send my particular expressions of condolence to his family, his wife Dorothy, and sons John and Morris, and his grandchildren. My relationship with Jim Lawson, as we affectionately called him, was in large measure personal. I was a sophomore in college when we met, 1974, at the Holman United Methodist Church when he just arrived here in Los Angeles. So my relationship spans literally 50 years. And there's much to be said about who he was, then, now, and into the future. A magnificent spirit. Yes, a theoretician of nonviolence. Yes, a practitioner of nonviolence strategies and tactics, but a pastor of profound proportions. He combined the priestly and the prophetic traditions. He was a colleague to many, an interlocutor in many respects. His speeches spanned a range of issues around justice, racial justice for sure, but he was no stranger, and he was not late to the discussion about gender equity. Far out front in terms of orientation, in terms of lifestyle of individuals, just a host of issues. And so Jim Lawson captured universality, but he also had the capacity to drill down on the particularities of circumstances that defined narratives that make us who we are, particularly those of us of African-American lineage.
Let me take some of what Mark Willie Thomas, Doc, has just laid out and get your read on it. Let me start with the nonviolence piece. Mark mentioned that he had many colleagues. Indeed, he did. Contemporaries. We'll get to the relationship between James M. Lawson Jr. and MLK Jr., these two juniors. We'll get to them a little bit later in this conversation. But let me start with this notion of nonviolence. J.M. Lawson Jr. didn't just teach it. He obviously was a practitioner. He traveled to India to study Gandhi and Gandhi's teachings. and helped co-found SNCC and taught all these young people, Diane Nash, run the list of all these persons who were taught about nonviolence by J.M. Lawson Jr., hence his relationship with MLK. As I mentioned, we'll get to that. But I'm trying to situate this notion in real time of nonviolence, of civil disobedience in a world, Dr. West, that is fraught with violence both at home and abroad. Your thoughts?
Well, as Brother Mark rightly says and wisely noted, that he was deeply a Christian who was committed to the love ethic. And Brother Mark Ridley Thomas actually wrote a powerful dissertation on this as it relates to South Africa with Bishop Tutu. But like Martin Luther King, and keep in mind now he's 4 months older than Martin, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's born September 1928, Martin born January 1929. That in college, this brother refused to be drafted in the name of pacifism, of the love ethic during the Korean War, and went to jail for 13 months. Coming out of Baldwin Wallace, Ohio. He grows up in Massillon, Ohio, 45 miles outside of Cleveland. I was just in Cleveland 2 days ago and did a tribute to him there, and they still have notions of that family there. It's unbelievable. And so he's there early, and you rightly know, 3 years in Nagpur, India. So he's there in India for 3 years studying truth force coming out of Gandhi's rich legacy. And so by the time he meets Martin, he's on his way. He wants to go to Yale Divinity School. He abandons those plans. Martin asks him to go south when Martin meets him at Oberlin College, also there in Ohio, you see. So here's somebody who is consistent from a teenager to 95 years old to embracing struggles against capitalism. We can say a word about his plantation capitalism notion that he talked about at the funeral of John Lewis on national and international television, of white supremacy, of male supremacy, of homophobia, of transphobia. He's a love warrior of the highest proportion, as Brother Mark says. And it's just, he's so rare and real, and he's just it's beyond a towering figure. What Duke Ellington would call beyond category.
Yeah. Mark, if J.M. Lawson Jr. were here now, and I asked him the following, what's love got to do with it? Given what Dr. West has just said, what's love got to do with it? He'd respond how?
Well, I don't know that Tina Turner would be the primary reference that he would have in mind. However, I don't think he would be hostile to the insight that she was seeking to share with us all. It's memorable in its own right. But I think Pastor Lawson's fundamental insight is this. It has everything to do with it. It is the radical ethic that defines who we are and who we ought to be. It is the core principle of nonviolent philosophy as it is applied in the Western context. Soul force, as Mahatma Gandhi would advance it, the fundamental ethic of the Hindu religion being that of truth, the essence of which is soul forth. In the Christian ethic, it is love. Therefore, Martin Luther King Jr., Jim Lawson, tied the love ethic into this. And Jim walked that walk. He just didn't talk that talk. He was about how to operationalize love, and not from the perspective of it being dripping with sentimentality, as he and Dr. King would often say, but in fact how you cause it to work in struggle, how you cause it to work in relationship, how you then essentially push it to the point that it helps redeem the soul of America. That's what love has to do with it.
Dr. West, I once interviewed Bibi Netanyahu, who is in the news every day, all day, right about now, for all the reasons, sadly, that we know. And he was going on about the campaign they were engaged in then, as they are now, they being, of course, the nation state of Israel. And I asked him, and it threw him off. I just asked him live on national television on PBS, have you ever considered the notion of nonviolence? Have you ever considered the power of love? Have you ever considered a Kingian response to what's happening in your region of the world? He scoffed at me on national television, almost to the point of humiliation and embarrassment. At least that was his effort and attempt. As if I didn't know what I was talking about, had no sense at all, Dr. West. And he said to me, I recall it like it was yesterday, Tavis, Martin King did not know Hezbollah. He didn't know Hamas. He didn't know, and on down the list he ran. Martin didn't know them. And so his suggestion, Dr. West, was that the notion of this love ethic that we're talking about, that J.M. Lawson Jr. advanced, that Dr. King advanced, would be nothing, would not be up to the task for what they are facing now in the Middle East. How'd you respond to that?
Well, one, I would say that you asked the wrong Jewish brother, Rabbi Heschel, or Jewish sister Susanna Heschel, or Rabbi Michael Lerner. We could go on and on. It's been a whole rich tradition. That's exactly right. You got a rich tradition of Jewish brothers and sisters who are in the prophetic wing, who would talk about love in the fundamental way. And the idea that Martin King and his family and black people never come to terms with Hezbollah, and we got 400 years from the Klan to the White Citizens Council to the police. What he say? Netanyahu's just living in a whole different world. He's just rationalizing his own repressive policies that's tied to a whole host of things, genocide, ethnic cleansing, apartheid, and what have you. And we could debate that, but that's just my own personal view about it. But it's a fascinating question, though, brother, because it's also true that, see, Lawson's example was one of the reasons why black people never formed a black version of the Ku Klux Klan. Because we've been a love warrior-centered people. We've always had folk who defended themselves, had self-defense and so forth. Ain't no doubt about that. Deacons for self-defense, Black Panther Party self-defense, rightly so. But none of those are tied to a terrorizing and a traumatizing of innocent white folk at all. And so in that sense, Lawson still holds up a bloodstained banner that all three of us are fundamentally tied to, wedded to, and we've made a covenant with each other. We working on this building until we die. And that's why his death is one that reminds us of the cost. He was one of the most hated men in Memphis. That's what he was. He was hated in Memphis precisely because he loved so, precisely because his moral integrity was such that he couldn't be bought, manipulated, or in any way hustled.
As Doc said, he was hated in Memphis, and while in Memphis pastoring, he's the one that made the phone call to MLK Jr., inviting him to come to Memphis to lead that sanitation workers strike. When we come forward, we will talk about that part, as they say. And because MRT, Mark Ridley Thomas, Dr. Ridley Thomas, has served so long as a prominent official, elected official here in Southern California and the state for that matter, I want to ask him this notion of whatever happened to love in our public discourse. Whatever happened to love in the public square? That's what Lawson and King did. They put love at the epicenter of the public discourse, the public debate. And love for me just means that everybody's worthy just because, period, full stop. Everybody is equally worthy just because. If you take that definition, you can operationalize it in our public policy. You see how that fundamentally changes things. We'll talk about that part as well when we come forward. Our guest, and I'm glad to have him, Dr. Cornel West and Dr. Mark Ridley Thomas, right now on Tavis Smiley.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The Supreme Court is rejecting a bid to restrict access to the abortion pill mifepristone. The High Court unanimously ruled that a group of anti-abortion doctors who challenged the FDA's actions to make the pill more accessible did not have the legal standing to sue and threw the case out. The ruling will allow the pill to be mailed to patients without an in-person doctor's visit. The first black person to own a McDonald's franchise in Detroit, Michigan, has died at the age of 83. Dr. William Picard died yesterday. He bought his first McDonald's in 1971 in Detroit and also invested in MGM Grand Detroit. Picard also helped establish Real Times Media in 2003, which now owns several African-American newspapers. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. At Blindster, we offer over 50 different custom window treatments, including faux wood blinds and shutters, all at prices less than retail. Plus, we'll send you free samples before you buy. Don't hire an expensive pro. Do it yourself and save big at Blindster.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers' 4-game winning streak was snapped by their former shortstop, Corey Seager, now with the Texas Rangers, hit a 3-run homer last night to spark the Rangers' offense. Seager's homer was all the Rangers needed to get the win. The Angels had 14 hits in their win at Arizona. The Boston Celtics are one win away from claiming the NBA championship. They beat Dallas to go up 3-0. The dynamic duos on both teams were on top of their games last night. Boston's Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown combined for 61 points. Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving combined for 62 for Dallas. The difference was that Tatum and Brown got far more support from their teammates than Irving and Doncic. The Celtics got a combined 45 points from Derek White, Al Horford, Drew Holiday, Xavier Tillman, and Sam Hauser. Game 4 is Friday night in Dallas. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the voice of reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the voice of reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. Linking social justice and climate justice all year long. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Every day, a child in poverty waits for a sponsor is another day of hopelessness. There are thousands of kids who've been waiting over a year. End their wait. Sponsor a child with compassion today. Just text the word radio to 83393.
Hi, I'm Henry Winkler. My eyes are very important to me. My eyes connect me with everything I love. I loved my late father-in-law dearly. He always lit up a room, but his vision dimmed with age. He had age-related macular degeneration, or AMD. And since partnering with Apellis, I've learned there's an advanced form of dry AMD called geographic atrophy, or GA. His struggle with vision loss made me want to help others know about GA's warning signs. For some, colors appear dull or washed out. For others, hazy or blurred vision make it hard to see details, like fine print on price tags. Many have trouble seeing in the dark, making driving at night difficult. GA gets worse over time and cannot be reversed. If you think you have GA, don't wait. Treatments are available. Ask a retina specialist about FDA-approved treatments for GA and go to GAWon'tWait.com.
My friends swim no matter the season, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. Now, thanks to Skyrizi and clear skin, count me in. With Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Who do you trust to get at the truth? Tavis Smiley. That's who. The conversation continues right now.
If I could find a place to hide away, pack all my things and I leave today. If I could be assured of one thing true, there would be no one else there but you. If I could find a place on the mountainside, surely I would just run and hide. If I could do the thing that I need to do, I would talk to no one else but you. I need a secret place where I can feel a secret prayer. Need a secret place, no one else would be there. Oh Lord, where I can hide away.
Every one of us needs a secret place. You best believe that James M. Lawson Jr. had one. You better believe that Dr. King had a secret place. Sometimes you can hide away and just talk to the man upstairs. We are pleased in this hour to be joined by Dr. Cornel West and Dr. Mark Woody Thomas as we celebrate the life and legacy of one Reverend James M. Lawson Jr., King confidant and contemporary. We'll get to that part in a moment here. But this is June, Black Music Month, and so every day this month we choose a different artist and feature some of the best of their music, weaving in and out of these amazing conversations with these great guests. Today it's the Winans, and I'm pleased to have you listening to the Winans and this conversation, for that matter, on Tavis Smiley. More now of the voice of James M. Lawson Jr., his own words.
There can be no nation of peace if there is not a nation of justice. True. There is no future in human history except the future of justice, of peace, of health, of beauty, of wonder, for every boy, for every girl, all over our Los Angeles area, everywhere in our country, and all across the earth. That's what the God of love, the God of Gandhi, the God of King, that's what that God wants for each of us, all of us. Amen.
I introduced Dr. Mark Woody Thomas earlier in this conversation as a prominent, longtime LA politician. Indeed, he was. 30-plus years, and he had no greater advocate than James M. Lawson Jr. Perhaps we'll get to that part of their friendship, their personal relationship later in this hour. We'll see if we can get to that. But you hear him talking there now, Mark, and my question, frankly, is whatever happened to the notions of love and justice in our public discourse? King, Gandhi, J.M. Lawson Jr. put love and justice squarely in the center of the public square. You talk about love now, they laugh you out the room. You talk about justice now, and it's just us talking about it, right? Whatever happened to those notions in our public discourse, given that you have been and were a long-time elected official?
Well, let me just say it in these terms. It's hard to reconcile love and bureaucracy.
That part, yeah.
The mediating dimension may be public policy, but public policy that may be informed by the notions of love, which is typically left to the domain of other environments. The academy, mostly the seminary, divinity schools, and the like. Love is conspicuously absent from the discourse in the laboratory of public policy making, and particularly as relates to the implementation of such. That's the point at which you invoke the question, what's love got to do with it? It is more, Tavis, is more, Cornell, a matter of what is often described as utilitarian. It's the greatest good for the greatest number. That's what government seeks to drive. And love moves beyond that. In the area in which I'm trained, that is in ethics, it is law that defines what government does. But in ethics, that may be more akin to the language of love, it is the law that's described as the moral minimum. It is the floor. Love seeks to go well beyond that. What am I saying? Law is what consensus is based on. Stated differently, they call this the sausage factory. When you are putting together a proposal, and by the time it's all put together, you wonder what you have actually created to serve. It's not what you intend from the beginning. It is what you can ultimately land on in terms of consensus. And so love, frankly, is a much higher ethic than what is resident in public discourse and policy implementation.
I had many conversations, Dr. Cornell West, with Reverend Lawson over the years in our private chats about that call he made to his friend Martin King, asking him to come to Memphis to lead the sanitation workers' strike. I don't have time to recount the story. We all know the story, what happened the first march. Ended in violence. King comes back for the second march, and they kill him on the balcony at the Lorraine Motel. We know that story in short order. But I was always curious as to how he personally navigated. I talked to him about this. I talked to Vincent Harding about this. But how they navigated, James Lawson in particular, being the one who invited Martin to come to Memphis to lead that sanitation workers' strike, and Martin ends up being killed there. When you think about that, you think what, Dr. West?
Well, I know it had to be a heavy burden on the brother, but he recognized that it was fully out of his control. That once you decide to be the kind of love warrior that Martin King and Lawson and Ella Baker, you remember she's the one that invited him to give the keynote at SNCC's founding April 1960 with Stokely and Diane Nash and John James Bevel and the others. But once you make that decision, you know there's going to be all kind of unintended consequences that can break your heart. That can break your heart. And I'm sure that he wrestled with that. Brother Mark would know much better than I. I mean, Lawson always struck me, Brother Lawson always struck me as someone of such overwhelming, quiet dignity that he may have just kept a lot to himself or talked it over with Sister Dorothy. I don't know. How would you work with that, Brother Mark?
Well, I just think it's a question of faith. And in the most radical and revolutionary sense of it. One of his most recent texts talks about the radical and revolutionary implications of nonviolence. And part of what that means is you cannot necessarily anticipate the outcome of the effort in which you engage, but you have a fundamental sense of knowing that the effort in which you engage is the right one, and therefore you're obliged to move forward. That's one of the fundamental tenets of nonviolent philosophy, nonviolent theory. It is practical in one sense, but there are no certainties. The lack of certainty, I guess it could be stated biblical. Faith is the substance of things
hoped for,
the evidence
of things
unseen.
Unseen.
Jim Lawson understood that and worked through that.
Our guests are Dr. Mark Willie Thomas and Dr. Cornell West. You can't do much better than this. It is our end and aim to honor the life and legacy of one James M. Lawson Jr. We'll continue doing that when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
From Leimert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Family Talk with Straight Talk.
You give and you give. It's time to get with Straight Talk Wireless. You get a reliable 5G network and unlimited data, and you get to choose who joins your family plan starting as low as $25 a line.
Does it have to be family?
It can be family or people you like.
Get more lines and more savings. Switch to Straight Talk for family plan starting as low as $25 a line per month for 4 lines. Find us at Walmart and straighttalk.com. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com. Family plan discount with 4 lines, all on the Silver Unlimited plan. Taxes and fees apply.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20, a Pfizer vaccine.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine. It can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just 1 dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
Smart talk for curious people just like you. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
I said earlier, Mark Willie Thomas, that I do not know of anyone in your life who's been a greater advocate for you publicly. I ain't talking about Avish, your wife. But James M. Lawson Jr. was an advocate of yours, and when this ugly case came up against you, he was front and center and stayed front and center all along. You filed your appeal early this week. I don't need to color this much more than that for this audience, certainly in L.A., who knows about this case in great detail. If you will, I would like for you to say a word about the appeal filed early this week. But what I'm really pressing toward is how you processed the love that Reverend Lawson showed you. And it was clear on display for the city and for the state. At every turn, he made it clear what he felt about you. And that had to make you feel good. I digress.
Well, it's hard not to be emotional about what Jim Lawson has posited in my life for literally 50 years. He was at Mama Sylvia's funeral. He was at Uncle Eugene's funeral. He was at Michael's funeral. Grandmother, uncle, brother. He wrapped his arms around me before SCLC, which he helped engineer with Dr. Thomas Kilgore, my being the executive director. When I was teaching high school, even before that, Jim Lawson was in my life and demonstrating, modeling what it meant to be a father, what it meant to be a pastor, preacher, prophet, and all through my academic journey, he was supportive and pushing a range of relationships, from C.T. Vivian on the one hand, Joseph Lowry to Norman Lear and Bill Howard, a whole network of people he introduced me to. Honored by the Southern Christian Leadership Conference this year, both Avis and I were afforded the inaugural Dorothy and Jim Lawson Transformative Resistance Award. And so I'll be 70 in November. And the point to be made is 50 of those 70 years, Jim Lawson has had a qualitatively significant role and presence. And so where we are at this moment, he was unmovable, unapologetic in terms of his witness and his advocacy on my behalf.
Our remaining moments with Dr. Michael D. Thomas and Dr. Cornell West when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Unapologetically progressive. Unapologetically black. You're tapped into Tavis Smiley.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
Substance use disorder and addiction is so isolating. And so, as a Black woman in recovery, hope must be loud. It grows louder when you ask for help and you're vulnerable. It is the thread that lets you know that no matter what happens, you will be okay.
When we learn the power of hope, recovery is possible. Find out how at startwithhope.com. Brought to you by the National Council for Mental Wellbeing, Shatterproof, and the Ad Council.
Eggs are a staple in our diets, and there's only one egg with more delicious farm-fresh taste plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best. With more vitamins, including 6 times more vitamin D and 10 times more vitamin E, plus 25% less saturated fat than ordinary eggs. Available in so many delicious varieties. Classic, cage-free, and organic. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Oh, I can't believe tax season is here already. Look at all this info I have to enter.
Phil's small accounting firm is growing in numbers.
Why didn't I take that typing class in high school?
A data entry specialist could really help him in a crunch.
I got blisters on my fingers!
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
So you just used bug spray in your home. Now what? Well, between the waiting and waiting for things to dry up and keeping your family away from the mess, it hits you. You could have used Zevo. Unlike other bug sprays that stick around, Zevo goes from kill to clean in seconds. Plus, it's safe for use around people and pets when used as directed. Zevo, people-friendly, bug-deadly.
Let's get back to more of Tavis Smiley right now.
So I will present to you Cornell West, the Dietrich Bonhoeffer Professor of Philosophy and Theological School, and say how wonderful it is to count him as a colleague and a friend of ours these 40 years, and how important his voice as a public intellectual is. We need need men like that, like this, who will stand up and speak what is beautiful, what is true, what is just, what enables us to be men and women of integrity and humanity. Cornel West.
I'm running out of time here. My time is getting real tight. But Dr. West, what's it like when you are introduced in that way by Reverend James M. Lawson Jr., good sir?
Well, brother, it's profoundly humbling, and it just reminds us that he never caved in, he never gave up, he never sold out in the name of his quest for truth, for justice, and for love. And he's one of the great human beings. He's one of the greatest human beings to be shaped and molded by this American empire of such overwhelming organized greed and institutionalized hatred. You look for somebody who's the counter to the greed, counter to the hatred, counter to the fear, counter to the cowardliness. That's James Morris Lawson Jr. Let us never, ever forget him.
Everybody in the media and beyond, MRT, Mark Woody Thomas, Dr. Mark Woody Thomas, is having their say about the legacy of one James M. Lawson Jr. I close where I began this conversation by saying I know of no one's been a greater advocate for you, who you've been closer to in public space and obviously in private shares. But I'll give you the last word on what you ultimately think the legacy of the Reverend James Morris Lawson Jr. is and shall be.
Well, I just simply want to say that this will be captured most effectively in a documentary by Karen Hayes. JamesLawsonDocumentary.com is where you can find it, www.JamesLawsonDocumentary.com. Learn more there. Married in 1959, July 3. 65 years of marriage. This coming July. It speaks for itself in terms of the quality of human being he was, and it had a huge impact on me, but not only me, but many other leaders. Norman Johnson, shall I say, Eddie Anderson, pastors coming up through the ranks, Louis Chase, and a whole Thomas Hill, a whole range of people. He put his hands on us. I stayed close to him because I know a good thing when I see it. He challenged me, he groomed me, he shaped me, and he caused me to understand the efficacy of nonviolence. Therefore, it's because of James M. Lawson Jr. that I consider myself to be a devotee of nonviolence, and I will cling to that until my last breath.
His name is Dr. Mark Woody Thomas, prominent and longtime L.A. political leader who I've been honored to have had on this program. I know there's grief. I know there is pain when you lose someone as close to you as James M. Lawson Jr. was. I know you don't close on the death of a loved one like you close on a house. And so even in this moment of bereavement, I am honored and humbled to have had MRT spend some time with us in this hour. And always delighted and empowered and elevated in conversation with our dear friend and brother, Dr. Cornel West. We'll have him back on this program in the days to come to talk more expressly about the campaign for the White House and how that is coming along. But for now, I thank them both for their thoughts, for their reflections in this tribute to Reverend James M. Lawson Jr., who passed away earlier this week at the age of 95. Doc, I love you. Thank you for your time, sir.
Oh, this has been such a magnificent conversation. And, you know, I could talk to you and Brother Mark until the cows come home.
But not right now.
But
Thank
not
you
right
so
now,
much.
yes. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.